This is one of my biggest pet topics is sex education in schools
Yes.
because there was zero essentially what you were talking about when you were in school and everything, and a lot of these communities refuse to talk about sex at all. And
Yeah.
it's still, you still see it now where people will like come out and protest sex education in general and say no, let's not have it. And they use these fear tactics because they'll say something like, well, sure, if they say this, they're like, sure, sex ed is fine for like, seventh or eighth graders, but I don't want sex ed for a second grader. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And here's why. Because sex ed for small children is not turning on Pornhub. All right, that's what they pretend it is. That's not what's happening. Like sex ed for like small children is these are your private parts. No
Yes.
one is supposed to touch them. And that is wildly important because
You can have age appropriate conversations.
yes, because if kids don't know that, they're not going to think it's weird. They're so
Yep.
someone and and you can't leave it up to the parents. That's the thing too. People hate hearing this, but you can't, because guess who's the person most likely to sexually assault a child? Just take a wild
Yeah.
guess who that's going to be. It's going to be a parent, family member, very close friend. So yeah, this needs to be known publicly. Like, hey, as a society, we say all the time we want to protect children. And if you look at the stats on this, which I always reference, is that sex education has been shown, to reduce child abuse, child assaults, STIs, teen pregnancies, like all the stuff we want to reduce. And the earlier it starts, the better your results are. So if you want to protect kids,
Yeah.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, because when you're talking about like teen pregnancies and stuff, like the less taboo that it becomes and the more like normal, like talk about it. Like, why does it have to be this secret topic? Like, talk about, like, if I don't know how often, Greg, if you were just told, well, we don't do that. Why? Because we don't. Say why. Like, have these conversations. Like, and parents don't want to. And like, it irks
Look,
me. Or I shouldn't say
all
that.
right.
I should say, because I'm not a parent. I don't want to get down that rabbit hole.
No, you
But
can.
kids
You
in
can.
general.
No, you can. Listen,
Like, if I
it,
will
no.
say, like, my sister has done an incredible, like I've said, I tell anyone, like, my sister has done a brilliant job raising her kids completely differently than how we were raised. And my nieces and my nephews know their body parts by their actual names. And like, can just like, it's important. Like, my sister's like, it's so important because then, like, if something is wrong or they know something's not right, they can use the actual scientific terms to tell me what happened. And we don't have secrets in this house. Like, I think purity culture. I think it's a breeding ground in the IFB. I think purity culture and the whole like topic is just a breeding ground for abuse and shame and guilt and everything else. And that's not to say that you can't have age appropriate conversations. That's not to say, hey, like, you're a kid, these are things that are going to happen. Like, but also you need to know X, Y, and Z. Like, you're allowed to say no. You're allowed to, like, I think it goes back to the like thing I think within the IFB too, where you're supposed to like submit, like you become your husband's property essentially within the IFB once you get married. Like, he can do like rape doesn't exist. You're just there to meet his needs. Like, it's all just intertwined, and I think it's all just really toxic. And like I said, if you choose to live your life in that way and you have the facts and you are able to like articulate it and that's your choice and you're not forced to, go for it. Like, it's your own body. But like, when you put all this shame and this guilt and this like taboo topicness, it just is like one whole I don't know, it just makes me really angry. I'm not a parent, so I don't know what it's like, but
well, it's just that, like what you were saying, how your sister teaches like not only the concept but the actual terms and everything.
Yeah.
We need to get over this, people. We need to get over society. We need to fucking grow up. I'm sick of it. I'm just like, because you say something that, hey, if we want to solve the problem, here's what we do. We talk about sex with kids, like a biological function that there's nothing to be ashamed of.
No.
And the response is, yeah, but it's icky. Fuck you. All right, I'm sorry.
Why,
like,
but why is it?
Yeah, because we decided. Yeah, we decided it's icky. Yeah, that's it. Like, you put the taboo on it.
You don't have to go into graphic detail with children, but like, they should at least know that no means no, and that you're just because of how you look is not justification for anyone to hurt you. Also, you don't have secrets. Like, you I just feel
Yeah,
like there's so much pressure in the IFB on young women specifically, and it sounds like it's rough for boys too. But like the amount of shame, like
it's a lot.
dressing appropriately, is just like the biggest.
Yeah, it's a lot different for the girls and the boys, specifically because they talk about it less with the girls and
Yeah,
the guys. So like and the college I went to, Maranatha Baptist in Wisconsin. Um, I didn't know how bad the girls had it until I started talking to a few of them at the dorms. And like the sexual repression was so strong that the girls, like, they weren't even allowed to like wear shorts around the girls' dorms. Like there were no men around.
no,
They had to be fully clothed, like completely, no matter where they were. Once again, no men for for hundreds of feet, in their
yeah,
vicinity, and they were like you said, they mentioned they didn't talk about sex a whole lot. They
no,
talked about like how you dressed and how you appeared, and oh, that's a little Jezebel-y or whatever. But the concept of sex itself just didn't come up a lot, and even like in innocuous ways. I remember going over our not yearbook, but our rule book at Maranatha, and it was funny, like the men's dress section, like how men should dress. It was like, you can't have a beard, you can't have these type of hair, you
yeah.
got to wear a tie, you got to wear pants. And the section like that long. Women, it was like a page and a
It's like,
half.
yeah,
Yeah, it was
or
just
like
it just
there's like
kept
whole
going.
books. There's like whole books about women and how you should dress and
Mhm.
how you should not look, and don't have your makeup too bold, but also you should have long hair, but also don't make it look too fake, but also it should look like this, and you should always blah blah blah. And like I agree with taking care of yourself and being put together and everything else.
Oh
Like
yeah.
there's a case for it, but like when it almost becomes your whole identity. And I remember
Yeah.
when I got kicked out of the house at 18, and I remember like being like, well, I can't wear that. Like that's too like, oh no. Like if I wear this, then this could be a problem. And I was like, but I don't want to wear this. Well, am I gonna go to hell? Or like is no one gonna want me if I wear a shirt that's 4 fingers from the bottom of my collarbone instead of 3 fingers? Because it just dressing up, it's literally for women, it's just about your body.
Yeah.
And like why, and it's almost like in a weird way, it's almost sexualizing girls' bodies when that's like the opposite of what they want. Like
So what you said about how they don't talk about, sex at all with it, and you mentioned how it's a breeding ground for potential sexual assault. And
it
I
is.
never really, man, I'm still, because it's hard for me to think this way, but I don't know if that's purposeful or not. I really don't, because I
I
mean,
think it is.
it might be because it happens so much, right? Like it
Well,
happens so
because
much.
you're not allowed to tell adults no. You're
Mhm.
not allowed to tell adults. You're not allowed to question adults. Um, the men in your life are there to protect you. But also they isolate you so much that you don't have outside connections to know what's normal and what's not.
Yeah.
And it's literally like assess. And I'm not saying that like, I'm definitely not saying that every like man within the IFB is like a horrible person or a perv or anything like that. Like that's not what I'm saying. Like I just think that whole culture is a breeding ground for
Yeah.
sexual assault and
It's,
sexual abuse. Because who are you
yeah.
gonna tell? You're gonna tell your mom who's not gonna believe you. You're
Mhm.
gonna tell your dad. Like case in point, like when we were at Maranatha, I distinctly remember I was like 12, maybe 13. We'd come back from a game. We had gone to put, like, you remember how we used to have to take the balls back to the cafeteria, like from the bus? I remember we did that, and it was late. Like, why the building was dark, anyways, I don't know. And I distinctly remember there was a boy that was in high school that exposed himself to me, and he was one of the kids that the public school had kicked out. And my dad went and told Pastor Carnahan, and I was sitting right there, and he basically called me a liar and was like, "Oh, our boys would never do that. Your daughter's just making it up for attention, or blah 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 blah, or maybe like her culottes were too high. I don't know, something stupid." And my dad was like, "No, my daughter's not lying." Like, case in point, like, and you tell someone you're not going to be believed. Like,
Yeah.
they always believe the boys over the girls. Like,
Mm.
I don't know. That's just my
Yeah.
old soapbox. But I've seen it
Yeah.
firsthand. And it's like, I mean, I just think it's a
Yeah.
breeding ground for horrible
Yeah,
things to happen.
it
because who are
definitely
you
is.
supposed to
It
tell?
definitely is.
Who are you supposed to talk to about it?
Yeah. It was just
No one?
I didn't know how prevalent it was until I was like well into adulthood. Because, I mean, I only had my experience. I never saw anything like that, so I didn't know what happened. And I knew it would happen, but I didn't know it was a rather commonplace occurrence. Like, it's just like it. If you were someone who was looking to, sexually exploit young people, that you would be drawn to it. At the very least, you can say that part. It's
Well, have
it's
you ever seen any of the documentaries where like the youth pastors and pastors would get fired from churches for inappropriate relationship with girls? They would just get
yeah,
sent to another one.
yeah, yeah. Stuff we made fun of Catholics for. Oh, I didn't know.